It started with a phone call. No name, no message, just breathing. She thought it was a prank. But by the time the last call came, 3 people were dead, and the killer was nowhere to be found. This is the chilling story of the Midnight Caller, the unsolved murders of Victoria Crescent. Victoria Crescent, a prestigious neighborhood in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. With its manicured lawns, luxury homes, and quiet streets, it was the kind of place people would never expect to find crime, let alone murder. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, where the streets were safe, and the biggest concern was which car to drive on a Sunday afternoon. But everything changed on the night of July 2nd, 2018. It was a typical evening when Ngozi Olanyi, a successful lawyer and mother of 2, received an odd phone call at exactly 12 a.m. First, she thought it was a prank. The caller didn't speak, only breathed heavily into the phone. Disoriented, she hung up, assuming it was just a wrong number. But the calls kept coming, every night without fail at midnight. And with each call, a deep sense of dread crept into her soul. She wasn't the only one receiving these calls, though. Her neighbor, Emeka Nwachukwu, a well-known businessman, started getting them too. Same time, same heavy breathing. By July 6th, the unthinkable happened. Ngozi's body was discovered in her home, brutally murdered. No sign of forced entry, no robbery. She had simply disappeared. The community was shaken, but it didn't end there. Just 3 days later, on July 9th, Emeka was found dead in his own living room. Once again, there were no obvious signs of struggle. The house was locked from the inside, and his wife had been in the next room. Then, just as everyone feared, the third murder came. Ifeoma Okwosa, a single mother who lived at the end of the street, was found lifeless in her bed. A phone call on her voicemail, a chilling, static-filled message that gave no clue as to who had committed these brutal acts. The police were stumped. They found no connection between the victims Ngozi, Emeka, and Ifeoma. No personal history, no enemies. And the strangest part? There was no evidence left behind. The only common link? The midnight calls. Detective Shinonso Akpan, who was assigned to the case, was baffled. "This isn't random," he said during an interview. "This is personal. But we can't figure out who's doing this or why. There's something we're missing." As the investigation deepened, rumors started swirling. Some residents believed it was the work of a serial killer who had somehow slipped through the cracks. Others whispered that the murders were ritualistic, tied to ancient, dark practices. But as more days passed without a breakthrough, the terror only grew. Then, just after the third murder, something even stranger happened. Ifeoma's neighbor, Chinyu, went missing. She was last seen leaving her house at around 11 p.m., just an hour before the fatal midnight calls would begin. Her disappearance was the final piece of the puzzle that detectives couldn't solve. Some speculated she knew something. Others said she was the next target. Either way, she had vanished without a trace, and no one has seen or heard from her since. Was it a serial killer, a cult, or someone within the community? The theories ranged from the mundane to the absurd. One theory suggested that the killer was someone close to the victims, a family member, friend, or colleague who had access to their homes. Another theory was even more chilling, that the killer was still living on Victoria Crescent, blending in with the residents, hiding in plain sight. To this day, the midnight caller has never been caught. The 3 murders remain unsolved. The eerie calls still ring in the minds of those who lived through that terrifying week. And the question remains, who was behind the phone calls? Could it be a serial killer? Or is there something more sinister at play? Tell us what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unsolved mysteries.